Hello, I'm Robin and welcome to Molten Modular. Today, we're having a look at the Oct Tone. The Oct Tone, Oct. Eight tones, 8 notes, an 8-note sequencer. What could be simpler or more lovely? I absolutely love 8-step sequencers. Totally enthralled by them. There's one by Wavephonics that I've used a heck of a lot. It's just 8 notes. It goes round and round and round, eight notes. But there's something about those 8 notes that fills your soul. Well, at least mine anyway. 8 notes, round again. That same 8 notes, damn it, round again. Let's have those 8 notes again. Somewhere in there starts to emerge some kind of party. Your brain locks into it. Your brain waves and alpha waves and beta waves start syncing, and you just start going into it. And then there it is again, and it's again, and it's again. 8 notes. 8 notes. So what's cool about this one? Good question. Oh look, I can turn it up. Where was I? So yes, 8 notes. 8 notes. The Oct Tone. Now one of the things that's quite interesting about this, let's just let it fly in an interesting way. Just in the background. Beautifully. Notes. Sorry, I'm getting carried away now. I'll let that bubble. Right, so the Oct Tone then. Slightly strange history around this. This is the Glasgow Synth Guild, which is a fabulous name, I have to say, for a bunch of people making modular. Now, it's something to do with Instruo, that Glasgow-based modular company that makes fabulous modules. But they also make modules for a lot of other people. As far as I understand it, the relationship is something along the lines of, oh, I don't know, we're in the same building doing the same sort of stuff, but I'm doing some stuff for this geezer, I'm doing stuff for this one, fancy this, oh yeah, bit of that. So no one really knows, and I don't think it's that important. One thing I would say is that the Oct Tone is actually originally a qubit module. Qubit, people who made things like the Surface I've got up here, or the Data Bender, things like that. And it was, funnily enough, designed by Jason Lim, who is Instruo. So it's kind of one of his first modules. He used to design modules for other people. Qubit. And so ages ago they released the Oct Tone, and it's been discontinued for quite a while. So Jason thought, I'm going to reclaim it, but somehow do it through this other side channel of Glasgow Synth Guild, so that it really has nothing to do with me, although of course it has everything to do with me. It's odd. But we like a bit of mystery in the modular community. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing. So again, the octone, what's interesting about that then? So, well, it's kind of in a circle. Does that make it more interesting? Yeah, I think it does. I think it does actually, more than you'd think. Because purely by being in a circle rather than a straight line, either this way you often have sequences in a line, or you have them up and down like this, like the way phonics one does. 8 notes, dial those in one after the other. Fairy gate, something like that. It's all very, very similar. When it's circular, there's no beginning and end. There's a sense of movement that's not there in a straight one. It's illusionary, of course. It's completely all in my mind. But if we can kid ourselves into believing something more is going on than actually is, then you're on a winner. Definitely. You're expanding into other universes. Your creativity is being manipulated, and that's a glorious thing. So just purely in being circular, you find yourself thinking about things differently. You're not going to go, I'm going to make note number 4 higher or lower, or I'm going to design a sequence that way. You're just kind of this one, that one's going to, and then this one, and then that one. So there's a sense that it's just different. It doesn't have the same beginning and end. It's a cycle, a circle, an infinite rolling of tones and notes and steps and pulses. Because one of the interesting things about the octone is that it's not just notes, it's also pulses. Now that seems obvious, but individual pulses per step. So each step has its own pulse to throw out into the world. So with your 8 steps of sequencing, you've also got 8 events you could be triggering. Now that tends to cause a huge amount of cables stuck into this faceplate here, so you can no longer access the knobs. But you're unlikely to want to trigger 8 events on every cycle of 8 notes. Unlikely. But 1 or 2, yeah, definitely. It has inbuilt quantization. It has a sort of a ratchet, re-triggering mode, which is kind of interesting. It has an internal clock, or you can take some clock straight in there. It will go forwards. It'll go forwards and backwards, or it will go all over the place. That's pretty much it. It's just superbly simple, and yet just has enough thought and innovation. No, not innovation, imagination. It has enough imagination to take you into slightly different places and different territories than you perhaps would using some other sequencer. It's front panel focused. It's right there under your fingertips, with perhaps a little bit of fudging going on there somewhere with the pulse mode. But we're going to look at all that. So what we're going to do, I'm going to bring you in nice and close so you can have a look at this, and we'll see what we can make of it. Now, for the purposes of this demo, I'm using the Plasma voice here from Game Changer Audio. Review coming soon. I'm using the Algo from RYK Modular. Review coming soon. The Bastel Crust, using that. Review coming soon. The Maelstrom Mandrake. There's a review coming on that too. So essentially what I'm saying is I'm using it with stuff I have no idea how to use, but hopefully that will demonstrate on how easy it is to get awesome stuff just out of 8 steps. 8 steps. It also might get a tiny preview of a forthcoming Molten Modular module. Interesting, eh? Right, let's get stuck in. The Oct Tone. Here it is in its glorious circle of illuminated buttons. You've got 8 knobs, 8 buttons, 8 outputs, 1 output per step. You've got rate in the middle. You've got your pulse output here, your CV output here, or your pitch output. You've got some sequencer modes down here. Step count, re-triggering, quantization. All of these things we will look at in an amount of detail, some kind of detail, I think. But just to experience for a moment Eight notes spinning in a circle. You can turn them on and off so that you get this rhythm going on. I have something else, the algo voice over here, the FM module, sort of organ-esque module over here, isn't running on any kind of gating, so that's kind of droning underneath, so that's always coming through. But this is being gated here by the trigger input, and so you're hearing that every time it hits an illuminated button, this triggers, as opposed to when it isn't. It's also firing the filter over here. It's just lovely. It's so much fun. There's so much you can do purely just to enjoy the melody as it spins round and round and slowly rots your brain into the idea that there is only this, and your mind goes, oh, it's just these notes, I want these notes, I just love these notes, and the rest of these notes are just, and then, oh my goodness, it goes somewhere else. Then after a few moments that starts to lock in, and again you are dedicated and worshipping this cycle of extraordinary notes as it fills your soul. Now, a lot of this is being helped by the inbuilt quantization. Now, I'm of the view, really, that every sequencer should have quantization built in, because I believe the majority of us want it to be musical. We want it to hit notes that we are familiar with and we recognise. And while sure, there's a lot of microtonal stuff out there, and if you're using it for modulation, then you may want something which is slightly different. But for most of us, I think quantization rules. And the Oct Tone has it by this little button down here, right, which moves this thing round the middle. Just slightly strange. Why here? Who knows? You kind of feel like the rate knob should be controlling something to do with those lights, but it's not. You hit the button and it cycles through. I'm sure you can look up exactly what these scales are, but I think this is like whole notes. This is unquantized, so all the lights are off. So it could be anything. Then it's chromatic, slightly drunkenly pulls that into scale. Then I think that's major. or that could be major or pentatonic. You know, it's all those sorts of musical terms that you hear about. Go and look up the manual, it'll tell you all about it, but you've got a few different choices. That sounds a bit more minor to me. I bring us down to one step. See, I thought I was going to change it to a different scale, and I grabbed the rate knob because that's what it leads you to do, but no, it's this button here. No, I said about 8 notes, right? 5 notes. Now 5 notes. That is the stuff of legend. To our old friend the 8. Oh, this is just so great. Okay, it doesn't always have to spin all the way around. You have a switch here which will ping pong it. No, it won't. Look at that. Now, it doesn't always have to go all the way around. You've got a switch here, we can switch it to ping pong. You may notice that this one here is becoming note number 1. Step number 1 appears to be this top left hand corner. Between the two, the going around clockwise or ping-ponging, you have randomization. Which, because it's already quantized, is so lovely, immediately lovely. disable some of the pulses, you still get the note. You just don't get the trigger. So if I emphasize the algo, this one here, which is not being enveloped in any way other than by the filter, then with the notes that are lit, it gives me this nice accent as it's pumping through the filter. Or as I bring the plasma back in, that becomes a bit more obvious. This is such a great combination. I am adoring this. I'm totally smitten with how this has worked out. You know, I've just sort of put it together, been fiddling with it in order to do this review, and it's just, this is heavenly. You've got like the purity of the algo, because I'm not using any of the FM algorithms at the moment. I'm just purely using it as sine waves. Running that with the crackle and the fizz of the plasma voice. Then just over here, which you can't see at the moment, I'll just show you briefly. We'll get back to the action. It's just a Polavox filter. It's just fantastic. You can also find interesting things as you push the speed up. Right, sorry, I must tell you more. Alright, must tell you more about what's going on. So those are the main features really, and you can just get lost playing. But there's a little bit more to it. A little bit more to it. There's a little switch down here, which gives us access to two more things. The first one is a tuning mode. So for this, you can select a note. You have to press re-trigger if you're closing something. Which lets you select a note and then tune it. So you can get to exactly what you need to do. It's not very sort of live performance, although I mean you could potentially use this just as an 8-note keyboard. You could do that, particularly if you're not using any kind of enveloping to close anything down. Like we use this, just droning. So you could, I mean, it's not convenient, but you could, if this was not running, you could have it in tune mode and just pick out a note. You wanted to have some drone going on in the background or some such. And some delay to it. So there's stuff you can do in that mode all by itself. But there's another factor within this mode, which is a sort of a pulse function. It allows you to allocate pulses to each step, up to 8. So if I go back to my first step, for want of a better one, if I hold that step and turn the steps dial, I can add up to 8 pulses for that step. What does that mean? So if I go back to playing around, this first step now has 8 pulses to it. Now in normal mode, classic mode, it ignores that. But if I knock it across into pulse mode, it's holding on for the length that I set for those 8 notes. The second note here also has some already added to it, which you're also experiencing. Now these have to be put in tune mode. This mode here. You can't do it on the fly, which is a shame. But if you set it up beforehand, so this second note here, it's already set up to something, so I can adjust that to something. I'm going to miss note 3, note 4, I'm going to put into a couple, this note here, I'm going to put into 4, something like that. Let's see what that looks like. Now you'll notice that some of them are holding for a tie and others are repeating, ratcheting if you like. That's something else you have to set over here. Now watch very carefully because you'll miss it. I have to double tap this button very quickly and then I'll get a little flash down here that will tell me what mode it's in. Did you see that? You might have done. I'll do it again and it gets a short flash. Short flash means it's just going to hold the note. Long flash means it will play each note. I think. Let's go and have a look. Yeah, so if I go to this note, if I double click that, that should now go the other way. No, completely messed that up, right. Try that. Was it on long? I can't remember now. No, that needs to be on that one. I'm going to take this one down. See, this kind of highlights how this is awesome and kind of a bit frustrating at the same time. Right, I know what I need to do now. I need to go to this one, which is currently on 8, put that down to 7, see what that sounds like. I'm trying to get it to loop nicely. There we go. No, still not quite there. So this one. Try that. Alright, nailed it this time, I think. See, I wish I could do it on the fly. I can't. I have to stop it and then double click that one, and then I still didn't do it. That's better. Now what's great about it is that this is in a separate mode, so I can just snap it across and it goes back to our regular cycle of awesomeness. And then during performance, these two being here is a little bit annoying, but never mind. I can throw that in. And I can even put it to random and have it use pulse mode in randomness. Right, the final piece of the puzzle, I think, are the individual outputs for the steps. Now these are they're gate outputs, so they go high as it goes round. So you can, for instance, plug it into a kick drum. I've got a kick drum over there. Stick that one in there. And when it gets to it, obviously, whoa, there we go. Now you can use them for anything. For instance, with my new prototype module just over here, which you can't really see, which is good really. But I'm using a gate output to turn the effects on and off. More about that sometime later. But while that's doing that, something else we could do is over here, this trigger input on the crust. Core flipping heck. So that's the Oct Tone. Eight notes. 8 notes. Is that enough for you? 8 notes? Round and round, 8 notes. But heck, could it make things happen within its domain? Just those 8 notes going out, nicely quantized, nice choice of scales there. No user scales, you can't save your own. Nope, sorry. You can't save a pattern either. Except you can, but you have to buy 2. If you buy 2 octones, you can now run 16 steps and it will run really nicely in a kind of a fat wide circle from one to the other, then back again. And that gives you a few extra functions like the ability to save patterns, which would be awesome if you had one, but you can't do it, so you can't. There you go. Transposition is another thing you can do if you have 2. But if you have 1, you can't, which again is a shame. However, those are probably the only things. I mean, what can I really find that is bad about it? I don't know. It can get fiddly around these knobs here. It can get fiddly, particularly if you start patching in the gate outputs. Then there's a lot of stuff going on around this particular bit. Can you even see that? Let me readjust it. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see it just about. So it can get crowded in there. It does get a little bit fudgy as you're trying to work things out. The fact that you can only set the repeating stuff while it's stopped, that's a shame. Because it's a bit like the M185, you know, the RYK modular M185, which is a great 8-step sequencer, which has different gate amounts, pulse amounts you can put per step. but you can do it as it's playing along because each one has its individual switch. Makes it very simple. Makes it very easy. With this, you have to go into the tune mode, and and it's all stopped. You have to hold a thing and twist a thing, and you can't see what it's going to because your hand's in the way because you're doing the thing to do the thing to do the thing, and that's not awesome. That's not fabulously ergonomic, and it would be great if I could just hold a step and add in those extra pulses mid-flow, while it's playing back. That would be interesting. But no, at least not at the moment, not on the current firmware that I'm running. So, I mean, those are things which are perhaps something which may get sorted out down the line, or are wish list items rather than things that makes it crap, because there is no way in any way that this is anything other than stupendous. It's fabulous. It's fantastic. I've had so much fun with it, and I've had it a little while now. And also, Glasgow Synth Guild didn't send it to me. It's mine. I bought it. I saw it. Thought, wow, that's great. Because I love, as I said at the beginning, I love a good 8-step sequencer. I thought this would be phenomenal, and I was right. So that's good. So it makes me feel good that I bought something that's really, really useful, and that I'm able to share that with you, unfettered with the bias of being given something for free. I hope you appreciate that. But now, of course, I'm trying to desperately hold on to the idea that I bought something and it was good. Anyway, we can go around in circles of that kind of crap. One other thing, the rate knob, lovely big rate knob in the middle. When you clock it externally, it becomes completely useless. It doesn't do anything, which is a surprise, because it's there going, I'm a function, I'm a big function, I'm protruding into your reality of functioning. Look how big this knob is, look how lovely this function is. And it gets rendered completely impotent. I would have thought that, thank you, I would have thought that if you're running from external clock, could not the rate knob be a time division? So you can step up and down around the clock. Wouldn't that be a lovely thing? That would be a lovely thing. That would be a lovely thing. So the Oct Tone, not entirely, completely and utterly perfect. It's not the most awesome. No, let me put that differently. Thank you for reminding me, Cockerel. It is the most awesome 8-step sequencer that I've got. It's just I can see down the road that there is potential for more awesomeness. Been able to save patterns, been able to transpose, been able to do time divisions on the rate knob. Those would be awesome things. Being able to add in the ratchets and the pulse repeats while it's playing back. Those things would elevate it to being something that we can't even begin to comprehend. It would be extraordinary. So there you go. That's my thoughts on the Oct Tone. This is a keeper. It's staying in my case. I'm going to be using it all the flipping time. As you can tell by the little jam I just did then, that was just, I'm having such a good time. This combination, this is just amazing. As I say, many more reviews to come. I'm still working out exactly how to use all these bits and pieces, but the plasma voice, just on the front panel, is really immensely enjoyable. The algo, I've played with it a lot, but I've never got into any of the algorithms. Bizarrely, I've just been using the lovely sine waves, a little bit of wave folding. Oh, it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful, lovely, great stuff. Well, I guess I better get on. So I hope that was helpful. And in the meantime, go and make some tunes.